What's up, guys? How's it going? Mr. Arnold coming back to another episode of History Comes Alive. And in today's History Comes Alive episode, ladies and gents, we are going to be looking at the Industrial Revolution, the time period in humankind's history where we see people change in terms of the way they live and the way they work. And we're going to separate this video into 4 distinct segments. Our first segment, ladies and gents, is going to be talking about the background history and the geography associated to the Industrial Revolution. After that segment, we're going to attack the causes of the Industrial Revolution. And then in the third segment, we're going to look at those effects that are from the causes of the Industrial Revolution. And then last but not least, we are going to be talking about capitalism versus communism. So make sure you guys are paying close attention and taking copious notes. There's a lot of great stuff yet to come.
1, 2, 3, 4.
What's up, guys? Mr. Arnold flying back in here for this first segment. And in this first segment, let's talk about a little background information and some geography. All right? The Industrial Revolution, ladies and gents, it occurred around the year 1750 to 1914 AD. Okay, so it wasn't that long ago. But the big thing to keep in mind with the Industrial Revolution is we're going to start to see a change in the way people live and work. And let's talk about it right now. Let's get down to business, all right? Before the year 1750, guys, much of the world was living on farms that were self-sufficient. Keep that in mind. Much of the world before the Industrial Revolution were farmers, all right? This is what people did. They lived on a self-sufficient farm. However, in the year 1750, up and until about 1850, we see a rapid change occur, a huge change. The world becomes industrial, okay? People are going to move from those farms into the cities. And from that transportation process, right, that transport process, we're going to start to see factories develop. We're going to start to see urban tenements develop, all right? And we're going to see the growth and rise of urbanization. But the big thing to keep in mind is that Industrial Revolution is going to create a spark in the way people live and work. They're no longer going to be farmers. They're going to be urban workers. And ladies and gents, the big thing to keep in mind is that the Industrial Revolution will change everything involved in society. Okay? In terms of where this first occurred, if you look up here, you will see that it first occurred in England, ladies and gents. It first occurred in England because of the new inventions of that time period, around the mid-1700s. We're going to start to see the Industrial Revolution develop. So certain things like the steam engine, as well as the spinning jenny, all right, as well as railroads are going to help basically humankind transform into becoming more of an industrialized society. Keep that in mind. It begins here in England for a couple of reasons. First, in terms of its overall geography, England is very, very rich with natural resources that will help fuel certain things like railroads, certain factories, okay? It's full of abundant natural resources, all right? Its terrain supplies that. Examples of these natural resources would be iron ore, which is used to build these big, powerful steel buildings and factories, as well as coal, which can help power steam engines. Keep that in mind. All right, so it's going to be full of natural resources, this island of England. In addition to that, it's going to be a great location for trade throughout the sea. It has what is called an irregular coastline, which helps create natural harbors. So it's very easy for cities to develop along this whole island because it's easy for traveling as far as trade is concerned through the sea. All right, so we have those two things involved. Keep in mind, best possible location involving trade throughout the sea, and the fact, ladies and gents, that there was natural resources under it all, okay? Keep that in mind. Next segment, we're going to be talking about the causes of the Industrial Revolution, so make sure you guys are paying close attention. All right, a lot of great stuff yet to come. What's up, guys? How's it going? Mr. Arnold coming for this second segment. In this second segment, we're going to be talking about the causes of the Industrial Revolution. So keep that in mind, all right? In this segment, all right, I want you guys to keep in mind, we'll say four causes, all right? These are the big four causes that are going to lead to the Industrial Revolution. But before we see the Industrial Revolution, ladies and gents, we're going to see the the agrarian revolution, in which many new farming techniques and inventions are created, all right? With these new farming techniques, with these new inventions, we see an increase in terms of the food supply, all right? England and Europe can now supply more food to everyone, all right? There's more of a food supply. So with that being stated, all right, we know first cause is the agrarian revolution. This is going to lead to another cause, which we'll see a population boom. All right, population boom will take place because we have so much more food to take in place. Now remember, the geography of Great Britain is something to keep in mind. The reason why it started there is because in Great Britain, we see lots of natural resources, iron ore, coal, for example. All right, these are going to be some natural resources that people are going to use during the age of the Industrial Revolution. Now, geography will also be important because, as you can see here, England is very close to other Western European countries. So they're going to follow them in terms of the industrialization process. We're going to have places like Belgium, France, Germany become industrial as well. And eventually what's going to happen, ladies and gents, is we're going to start to see a global trade network form in which goods are going to be produced in places like Britain, France, Germany, and be sent to places all throughout the world, all right? In addition to Britain, France, and Germany being one of the first countries to become industrialized, we're also going to see America and Japan industrialize a little bit later on. So keep that in mind. Food for thought, ladies and gents. All right, so we have basically two causes: the agrarian revolution, the population boom that is created from that. We have greater food supply. We also have the role geography is going to play. That's going to be our second cause. Our third cause is capital. All right, capital, ladies and gents, is any form of money or resource, all right, that someone has in their possession. Keep that in mind. Any form of money or resource they have in their possession. We're going to see capital boom during this time. We're going to see people making lots of capital. All right, we're going to see the advent, the creation of capitalism from Adam Smith and the wealth of the nations, ladies and gents. And capital is going to help Britain take part, all right? Basically, Britain takes advantage of the growing capital in the world, and they transform from a little island country into an overseas empire, all right? Eventually, they're going to imperialize, which is a video for another time, ladies and gents. And eventually, there's going to be a rise of capitalism in Britain, in Europe, as well as a rise in capital. We're going to see a lot of lower class people now become higher class people. We're going to see social mobility and opportunities being formed because of the Industrial Revolution. And that's going to be one of the causes that we're going to see more capital and more trade throughout the world due to the industrialization of, well, we'll say humankind. Last but not least, we're going to be talking about technology and energy, ladies and gents. Britain experienced a revolution because of the inventions that people created. We had James Watt in his steam engine. We have George Stephenson in the railroads. We have Thomas Edison in the light bulb. These inventions, ladies and gents, will allow Britain as well as other countries to take advantage of what they do for us in humankind. Have you ever thought about how a light bulb allows us to work at night? It'll allow people to work past the sun setting. In terms of the railroad, it'll allow us to trade inside either the continent or, for Britain's sake, the interior of the country. We're going to see all these cities become connected because of the trading of the railroad. So we're going to have Liverpool and Birmingham and London all be connected because of the railroad. In addition, ladies and gents, don't forget about the role steamboats play. Steamboats will connect Britain as well as Europe with outside countries, such as maybe the Americas or Africa or India and China, and lead to imperialism, which again, as I had stated, is a video for another time. But the big thing to keep in mind with the causes, ladies and gents, is that the Industrial Revolution, it will now create global trade, and it will ultimately change the way people work and live. All right, that's all I have for you for this second segment. We're going to dive into the third segment, talking about effects. See you guys soon. What's up, guys? How's it going? Mr. Arnold coming back for this third segment. And in this third segment, ladies and gents, we are going to be looking at the effects of the Industrial Revolution. There's going to be 6 effects associated to the Industrial Revolution for you guys to keep in mind. The first one is going to be this. We know about the Agrarian Revolution. We know about the increased food supply. All right, this is going to lead to a population boom. All right, that's going to be something to keep in mind for the Industrial Revolution. During the time in Europe and the Americas, like USA particularly, we're going to see a huge increase in the amount of people throughout the world. All right, and as a result of that, those people are going to move to urban areas, populated areas, all right? And ladies and gents, that's going to form what is called urbanization. Urbanization is when we have lots of people moving towards one center or area or city, all right? We're going to have lots of people moving from the rural areas of England, of Europe, into the major populated areas of England now, all right? And that's going to be called urbanization. So that's our first effect. With population boom, we see urbanization. With urbanization, with these people working in factories, we're going to see mass production, all right? We're going to see mass production of certain things like steel, textiles, all right? All these things are going to be produced, ladies and gents, in huge factories. What used to take maybe a day to produce, now might take 2 minutes to produce, all right? We are going to have certain things like the assembly line kind of envisioned here. And ladies and gents, lots of things are going to be able to be produced very, very quickly. Keep that in mind. Now, with mass production though, remember, this is at the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. We really have not figured it all out. And as a result of this, ladies and gents, the workers, the factory workers, are going to be subject to poor working conditions, all right? Not only are they going to be subject to poor working conditions, these people who are moving to the cities, the cities are not ready for that. And as a result, we're also going to have large living conditions that are very, very poor, all right? A tenement is right here. It's a multi-story building that has very, very poor conditions for the people that are living inside that. And this is where the people who are working in the factories, the urban poor, will live. So we have population is going to lead to urbanization. We have mass production, which is going to lead to poor working conditions, ladies and gents. However, all that stuff is going to lead to our next effect, and that is big business, all right? Big business, as you see right here across this gentleman's big stomach, all right? Big business are going to be formed. Remember, before the Industrial Revolution, everything was self-sufficient. Everybody worked and they produced kind of their own goods. Now, with capitalism reigning supreme, ladies and gents, big businesses can form and specialize in specific products and mass produce everything, which will bring in more money into their pockets. Think about it. There's new trade markets that are forming. There's trade networks that are forming. What you can produce in England now can be sent into India and Africa. There's more people to trade with, and we know when there's more people to trade with, there is cha-ching, lots of money being made. So we're going to have big businesses formed during this time period in which specific individuals will be able to gain lots and lots and lots of money. All right? And because of that, we're going to have class structures formed. All right? Because of big business, this is going to tie into our fourth effect. Class structures are going to form. We're going to have the proletariats, the working class, versus the bourgeoisie, which are the kind of the middle class, but they're the people with capital. All right? During the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, keep this in mind, there is going to be a huge gap between the rich and the poor, a huge gap. However, towards the latter end of the Industrial Revolution, ladies and gents, we're going to start to see initiatives made by the proletariats that is going to help in building and expanding a middle class, okay? With all golden ages that we've talked about, remember, we're going to see a middle class forming. So, at the end of the Industrial Revolution, we're going to talk about the golden age of Britain, Pax Britannica, in which more people are starting to go into that middle class and making it more equal throughout all of society, okay? Don't forget the terms. The bourgeoisie, people with the capital, really it's the higher to middle classes of people, sorry about that, and then proletariats are the low people, the working class who have no capital. And then not last but not least, we're going to get into imperialism, all right? Remember, factories are going to need raw materials in order to manufacture goods and whatnot. So during this time period, we're going to see imperialism. That's going to be the taking over of other countries, claiming them as your colonies, and basically exploiting or taking advantage of them for their raw materials and resources. Britain, ladies and gents, is going to build a huge overseas empire. They're going to have land in Africa, India, and China, and they're going to take advantage of those places. They're going to take advantage of them for their raw materials and resources, as well as their markets and the people that they can trade with. And then last but not least, we're going to talk about economic structures. Capitalism versus communism. That's our last effect, and that's our last segment here. So make sure you guys are paying close attention. There's a lot of great stuff yet to come. What's up, guys? How's it going? Mr. Arnold coming in for this fourth and final segment. And in this fourth and final segment, we're going to be looking at capitalism versus communism. A key topic or theme to understand. Why? Because it's going to affect history in the 20th century. Everything from World War II, basically up until now, the present, we see capitalism versus communism really taking shape here, ladies and gents. All right, and being one of the key main concerns of conflict in humankind. All right, so let's get started. Let's first talk about capitalism, ladies and gents. Capitalism was developed around the Age of Enlightenment by this guy right here, Adam Smith, a Scotsman. He's from Scotland, ladies and gents. And he's going to write a book called The Wealth of the Nations. And in that book, he's going to talk about capitalism and how there's two types of people in capitalism. There's winners and there's losers. It's very clear cut. All right? However, whenever we talk about capitalism, some pros that are associated to it, some positives, is this: that in capitalism you have social mobility. You are given the right to move up and down the social ladder. You could be like Jay-Z, this cat right here. He grew up in a very humble beginning, the Marcy Projects. However, now he's married to one of the finest women on earth, and Beyonce, all right, one of Mr. Allen's favorites. All right, a Woman Crush Wednesday. All right, and he's probably living in a penthouse suite in Manhattan. He's worth a couple $1 million. He's worth a couple bones. All right. However, the big thing to keep in mind with Jay-Z when we talk about capitalism is social mobility. He started from the bottom and he moved his way up. And there's lots of other examples that you guys can utilize when we talk about capitalism. So social mobility is one thing. Another thing is opportunities and freedom. In capitalism, you have the opportunity to do whatever you want to do. There's no restrictions. There's no government telling you that you cannot or can do this. All right? We call this hands-off business interference policy, laissez-faire, in which there is no interference from the government in terms of how you run your business or the economy. Okay? Keep that in mind. In addition, capitalism is all based on the laws of supply and demand. When there are maybe lots of things for a certain project produced, okay, lots of products produced, and there is a high demand for that product, typically that will sell for very, very cheap, all right? However, if there is a low amount of supply but a high demand, then obviously it will sell for a lot higher, all right, because it's more in demand and there's less of it to distribute. But the big thing to keep in mind with the Industrial Revolution, with capitalism, is that most of these countries, at the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, they were capitalist, okay? And they had everybody kind of thinking about what would be better, all right? You had big business owners that were making hundreds of dollars per day, while you had poor, disenfranchised factory workers making nothing. And because of that, we saw a huge gap between the rich and the poor. So you're going to have people like Karl Marx and Frederick Engels who are going to question capitalism, going to try and come up with something better in communism. And they're going to write the Communist Manifesto in 1848, and they're both from Germany. Something to keep in mind. And the big thing with these two is economic equality. All right, they tried pitting the proletariats versus the bourgeoisie, and basically we're trying to attract proletariats to take over the bourgeoisie. All right, ladies and gents, and take over the once privately owned businesses and make them public and run by the state and run by the government. All right, it'd be like this: if you had a farm, all right, in a communist state, if it was taken over and communism took over, your farm would no longer be in your possession. All right, all the equipment, all the land that you work on is now to the state, and they make the decisions on how you should work and what is produced and how to distribute it evenly. Okay, in communism, the state determines wealth distribution. All right, economic equality is one of our key themes in which everybody is going to be given the same amount in a communist state. Marx and Engels believe that this will get rid of greed, and get rid of competition, all right, which they believe was a root basically for all evil in humankind. All right, but at the end of the day, what I want you guys to remember with capitalism versus communism is that they're going to be going head to head for basically the rest of humankind's history up until now, the present. It's still a term or a conflict that we're still facing with today. All right, that's all I have for you for this episode of History Comes Alive. I hope you guys had a great time watching this. If you have any comments or questions, please feel free to leave me something or hit the subscribe or like button and share this with anybody that you want to. And for this time, I'm going to say goodbye. We're going to be looking at nationalism next, hopefully, as well as imperialism. So make sure you're watching these videos together to kind of get a better idea of everything. All right, that's all I have for you guys. I'll see you guys later. Take care. Bye.